It's late. Not the dramatic kind of late, just the hour when the house finally stops answering back. The lights are low because I forgot to turn them off earlier, and now it feels rude to change anything. There's a glass on the table I didn't finish, a book face down, holding my place without really knowing why. This is when thoughts loosen their grip. I've been carrying this around for a while, not as a speech, not even as something I knew how to say, more like a weight that shifts when I move, reminding me it's still there. I used to think intensity meant honesty, that if something felt urgent, it must be true. If it demanded all my attention, it deserved it. I didn't know then how much noise I was mistaking for clarity. You were quieter than that. I notice it now in the smallest things. The way you'd pause before answering a question, not because you didn't know, but because you were checking in with yourself first. The way you folded laundry with the windows open, even when it was cold because the air mattered. How you listened, not to reply, not to solve, just to understand the shape of what was being said. I didn't know how rare that was. I thought love announced itself. I thought it arrived with force. I didn't understand that it can also arrive like a steady hand on your back when you're not looking, that it can exist without needing to prove anything. I was so focused on forward motion, on momentum, on not stopping long enough to feel the friction. Responsibility has a way of convincing you that speed is the same thing as purpose, that if you're moving fast, you must be moving right. But speed blurs faces. I remember nights when you'd already gone to bed and I'd still be at the table, papers spread out, mind elsewhere. You'd wake up just enough to ask if I was coming, not annoyed, just checking. Soon, I'd say. I didn't realize how often soon becomes a substitute for presence. After you left, I kept expecting the silence to feel loud, like something missing should announce itself. But it didn't, it was subtle. A chair that never moved, a mug that stayed clean, the absence of small interruptions I used to think distracted me. It turns out they were the point. I replay conversations now, not to rewrite them, not to assign blame, but to understand where I was standing when I spoke, how much of me was actually there, how often I answered from habit instead of attention. You didn't ask for more than I had. You asked for what I was already giving everywhere else. That's the part that took time to admit. There's a particular kind of regret that doesn't sting sharply, it just settles. It doesn't say you failed, it says you didn't notice, and that's harder to sit with because noticing feels like such a small thing, like something anyone should be able to do. But awareness requires stillness, and I wasn't very good at being still. I've learned since then how much energy it takes to hold the world at arm's length, to stay half elsewhere all the time. It looks like focus from the outside. It feels like distance from the inside. You once told me you didn't need more time. You needed shared time. I nodded like I understood. I don't think I did. I was measuring hours. You were measuring presence. There's a difference. I don't miss the big moments. Not the trips. Not the milestones. Not the things that photograph well. What comes back to me now are the unremarkable evenings, the ones where nothing was accomplished, where dinner was simple, and the conversation drifted, where we sat on the floor, because neither of us felt like finding a chair. I didn't know those were the moments doing the real work. I used to think love had to be efficient, that it needed to fit around everything else. I see now how backwards that was, how love isn't something you slot into the margins of a life. It's the thing that quietly gives the rest of it meaning. That's not a dramatic realization. It doesn't change anything overnight. It just rearranges the furniture in your mind so you stop bumping into the same corners. I want you to know I don't carry this with bitterness or with longing that asks for anything. It's more like gratitude that arrived late but arrived honestly. Gratitude for having been close enough to something real to recognize it afterward. You were patient with me in ways I didn't deserve at the time, not because you were trying to be noble, but because patience was part of how you loved. I see now how careful that love was, how it didn't demand to be centered, how it trusted me to notice. I didn't. Not then. That's on me. And I say that without punishment, just accuracy. There are things I do differently now, not because I'm trying to correct the past, but because the past finally taught me something I was ready to learn. I leave space in conversations. I let silence finish its thought. I don't assume that urgency equals importance. I sit longer with the people I care about, even when there's more to do. Especially then, sometimes I wonder if you'd recognize this version of me, not in a dramatic way, just in the way someone notices when another person has slowed their walking pace, when they've stopped scanning the horizon and started looking at what's right in front of them. Maybe you would. Maybe you wouldn't. Either way, this isn't about that. It's about understanding that what mattered most was never the scale of things. It was never about being seen or achieving something impressive or building something that could outlast me. It was about the quiet exchange of attention between two people in the same room, about being fully there when someone spoke, about letting ordinary days be enough. You gave me that, even when I didn't know how to receive it. I don't replay us with the hope of return. I replay us with clarity, with a kind of tenderness that doesn't ache anymore. It just exists. There's peace in that. The house is still quiet. The glass is still on the table. Nothing needs fixing tonight. I just wanted to say this somewhere I could sit without interruption. I hope you're well, truly. And I hope wherever you are, you feel the same calm I feel right now. That's all.